two guys where there really isn't any tension or, between the backup and the starter. They know their role and they're supportive of each other.
We have a good time together. Yeah, we got a great room, and that's important. I think the quarterback position, you got to go in there, and I've always told them, listen, we're going to work our tails off, but we're also going to have fun doing it. And I think, Trevor's so fortunate to have CJ, having played for a number of years. They're great friends, and CJ is great because he's a good sounding board also, that CJ's not going to sugarcoat certain things, and he's going to tell Trevor certain things at the right time. And I think especially on game day, the things that CJ helps everybody with is outstanding. So they're very close, and Trevor's lucky to have somebody like that with him.
One of my last things, Coach, I know last season with Trevor, there were a lot of big runs he had, and it's probably an underrated part of his game.
Yep.
Many have talked about, but is that something y'all are trying to dial back? This coming season, just to protect it more and be like, hey, maybe don't take the unnecessary risks, or is it just like, hey, he's a competitor, we got to let him?
Well, there's a time and place to be a competitor. I mean, he's going to compete his tail off, but I think he understood too, you can only take so many hits, and he's just got to be smart. We want him to go out there when he's in space, let him do what he thinks he can do, but also make sure that you get down at the right time. But then again, there's the game like against the Raiders, where Denzel Perryman hit him on the sideline, and that kind of sparked him a little bit. He was a different guy after that hit. He wanted that to get going. And so that was interesting one where it's like, Trev, you don't need to take those hits. He said, why? I kind of wanted to take that hit. Or, at the end of the Kansas City game when he's scrambling down the sideline, instead of running out of bounds, he tries to run over the DB. He's like, he's little. He's a smaller guy. But that's the competitor. But he's got to be smart with that. And I think he knows, having played 2 years of, you got to minimize the number of hits you take as a quarterback in this league.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
And Mike, for you as a former quarterback, to see Trevor keep everybody outside of Jim Bob leaving, keep everybody together, how crucial is that, and maybe how underrated is that, keeping a staff together like you guys have for the most part?
Well, I think it's great for Trevor, really for the whole entire offense, because the more familiarity you have with everybody, the system stays the same. And you're going to change things from time to time. We made some adjustments and we added some things that we think could help our football team. But the more time you play in the system with the same teammates, and every year you're going to have a couple of new teammates come in, the better you're going to be, the faster you can play. I think you saw as the season went on last year, Trevor had more flexibility, or we allowed him to do more at the line of scrimmage, and you saw him play faster and make quicker decisions. So I think it's going to pay off with having the same system for 2 years.
How much do you find you guys have added versus refined from a season ago when it comes to the playbook?
Well, you always add a few wrinkles, but that's the same during the season too. Some of these things we experiment with in the offseason. That's the beauty of it. There's no negative consequence for you go out there. It's like, okay, big deal. It didn't work. We kind of saw a certain team run that. We put this in. Yeah, okay, no big deal. It's not, that might not fit us. Whereas in a game, it's like, ooh, that was a bad idea. We tried to do too much. So this is the time to kind of experiment with those things, with the time, with the off season. But our system's in place. We put that in last year for the long haul. But as your team changes from year to year, you're always trying to find out that, what do our guys do best? Now adding Calvin, what can be the wrinkle? How can he fit in our system? Christian and Zay, Evan, and all the other guys that were here last year, we know a lot more about them. So from day one, we kind of put them in position, or maybe move them a little bit more in the off-season program and find out, okay, because as the season gets going, you get familiar with guys, and you get kind of in a groove using them in a certain role. And now it's just a matter of saying, okay, let's find other ways and maybe finding another guy to do the same things that we did last year. So our system's in place.
Right. How much for that system to operate at its maximal potential did you guys need a Calvin Ridley?
Well, I think anytime you can add a player like Calvin, it's going to help. It's going to make everybody better, and give Marvin all the credit in the world. I think that was the beauty of our success last year and our team. I think everybody understood their role on our football team, and they were very unselfish. I mean, there's only one football. And I know all the skilled players in the NFL, they all want the ball every play. They all think they should have the ball every play. And a lot of them they're opening games and they may not get the ball, and they come to the sideline and they're pouting about this and that, or after the game they might catch 2 balls. Well, the next week they catch 8, and that other guy now, he's the disappointment. So, but I think that was part of the reason for our success. I think we have unselfish guys, and I think we had an unselfish football team. Everyone, was in it together, and no one was pointing fingers when we were struggling early on, and we just kept on rolling, and the rest is history.
To have that guy who can take the top off, though, do you think that was lacking at all last year, or at least Calvin's, his speed?
Well, you can never have enough speed. I think what's going to help really with the ability to throw the ball downfield too, though, is Trevor's confidence in players and familiarity with playing with the same guys, and understanding, okay, this is how Christian. There's routes we can show you early in the year that we might not have thrown, whereas later in the year he makes a certain throw, or he attempts to make a throw that is a great throw downfield, but there just wasn't the confidence maybe, or the familiarity on how a certain player, or how a certain coverage or route would play out, where now he might anticipate a little bit sooner to throw the ball downfield, or check the ball down.
How much do you think the role of the tight end changes, stays the same from last year with the additions and subtractions in that room?
Well, only time will tell. I think once we get into training camp, we'll start fine-tuning some things. See how our whole team is put together at that point in time, because there's changes that are always made, as you go, and we're into June now, and you go through training camp, and you start to, we have a plan going in, but that might change by the time we get to the opener, and that's, you get through the 3 preseason games, you kind of find out what do our teammates do, what does our team do best. There's some new tight ends on our roster this year. The roster's always changing, so we'll kind of find out, okay, what do those players do best, and then it's our job as a staff to do what our players do best. We'll find out.
Has anybody or anything surprised you so far through these first few weeks of the off-season program?
Surprised? I wouldn't say there's a lot of surprises. I think
that may be a good thing, too.
Yeah, I think it really is. I think we've got such a good group of players, like a good group of guys. I think we all enjoy coming to work every day, and I think now you look back after the first year went by, and you really look at how fortunate we are to have the team that we had last year and the type of players we had. So I think that you learn so much about the guys in the first year, about who they are. Not a lot surprises you now anymore the way they are. I mean, one of our last meetings you had in the last day, you sit around and you just presses in front of the room and asks some questions, and everyone gets along so well. It's kind of some of the answers that might surprise you, and everyone kind of jokes about. It's a lot of fun. So I don't think there's not a lot of surprises, I wouldn't say. I don't know if this answers your question, really.
No, it definitely does. Definitely, that's like I said, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
If you don't have any surprises, if everybody's just steady. So awesome, perfect.